So I'm going to ruffle some feathers with this one, but I don't care. So I'm going to address a comment that repeatedly gets commented on my post and other people talking about estrangement. And it's the comment that says, your children are not estranging from you to hurt you. They're doing it to protect themselves. I call BS. What are they protecting themselves from with us? Loving parents who've always supported them, loving parents who's always, done everything in their power to be there for them, who financially has supported them, who has went out of their way and put their life on the back burner for their kids. What are they protecting themselves from? I know there are true legit cases of abused children, ECs that genuinely need to walk away, but we're not talking about those. We're not talking about that percentage. We're talking about the rapidly growing epidemic of estranged children who walk away from their parents, and they walk away with no communication. Yes, I know that there are kids that have tried to talk to their parents. I'm well aware, but we're not talking about them. We're talking about the big ones that shut their parents out, don't tell them why, won't communicate. They're protecting themselves, but not from us. They're protecting them so they don't have to be accountable for anything that they've done. So they don't have to sit down and have an adult conversation, have a hard conversation with their parents. They don't have to take any responsibility for anything that they've done. They walk away from anyone and everyone who tries to hold them accountable. It's easier to walk away. So I call BS on that comment.
So a little background on her, and I'll probably do some more commentary on her videos. This is the one that kind of stuck out for me. She's really that typical estrangement story in regards to the fact that for the first 3 years of her estrangement, her daughter bounced in and out. So her adult daughter, and she might have more than one child who's estranged. I'm not 100% positive. Regardless, this child bounced in and out. And what I know from being a therapist and from being an estranged adult child and from other stories and people that I'm connected to in our community is that, and please, you know what, in the comments section, if you bounced in and out in the first 3 years, drop a hand, make a comment, share your experience. What did that look like? Because people do read through the comment sections and we're all healing together. So it has a lot of value when you share your experiences in the comment section, more than you probably realize. In the first 3 years, the reason an adult child bounces in and out is typically because of a couple of things. One, they're trying to save the relationship. Two, they're going through therapy and they're gathering or developing tools. They feel stronger. They're bringing back what they learn to that estranged parent, hoping that they can help them along. They're learning how to create boundaries in a healthy way, become better communicators because they weren't taught to communicate in childhood. They were taught to be small and bobblehead. They now have conflict resolution tools that they didn't have because that wasn't modeled for them. And so they're bouncing in and out, trying to save that relationship because we actually do want to have our parents in our lives. What seals the estrangement is when they're bouncing back in, they're recognizing that that parent is not willing to grow. Let's not talk change. Let's just talk growth. That parent isn't willing to transition their relationship from being large and in charge over a small child to being the same size of the same, well, no, they're not the same maturity level, intellectual capacity. I don't know I'm trying to figure out a better way to put this, but treating their child as an adult that they are now, rather than still treating them like the child that they had control over. And so as that relationship isn't evolving and this adult child keeps coming back in and the treatment is the same and sometimes even worse, there's a point in time where they break. And it's like, why do I want to continue to try with someone who doesn't see me? That hurts me. I'm being ripped open. I'm being triggered. I'm being mistreated. I have more to talk about in therapy now, and I would like protection from that. And that protection oftentimes comes in the form of no contact because they don't want to have a relationship with someone that there's a guarantee of strife. It's sadly not that complicated. And I say it that way because respecting boundaries and understanding that you can't leverage things like you're being disrespectful when I'm trying to tell you how I feel. I see it a lot. I have a family where everybody's separate with me in therapy right now. But for one child in that family, and I've seen the dad once to this point. And the therapy started with one of the daughters coming to me, and now I have all the daughters, and the daughters were heavily triangulated. And they've now learned how to form relationships with one another based on who they are rather than who the mother had defined them to be in each other's eyes. And they're doing really, really well. And it's like, I love seeing it. The mother, however, who also is in with me now, struggles with that emotional immaturity, attacking, you're being disrespectful instead of hearing their child. When their child has come to them, there's one in particular who's the target currently. And when that child comes to them and says adult child, she's quite young, so that's why I said that, but she's not a child, she's an adult, goes to her and says, this stream of text that you sent me, what are you thinking? Did you reread what you said to me and how hurtful that is? You're my mom. I just want you to be my mom. Why do you have to talk to me this way? I mean, she was shredding, she shredded her daughter and her daughter felt shredded. I saw the text, by the way. And the mother's like, well, you were being disrespectful because you didn't do this and I'm hurting too and I spent the whole day crying. The mother sent the text and then told the daughter, I spent the whole day crying. And at no point in time, an hour-long conversation until the very end, did the mother actually apologize and say, I shouldn't have done that. And even when she did, it was still laced with, but you take accountability too. And that's where a lot of this goes sideways. My estranged parents out there, and I'm hoping that this mom who's coming to me, we can get to a place before it ends up really falling apart. I can see one daughter is on the edge right now, and I'm really hoping we can get to a place where it doesn't happen. However, that's going to have to do with how honest the mom chooses to be with me and whether or not she can face her own trauma, because that's where this is all stemming from, is her own trauma and the expectations of you just stay in the relationship. And so she doesn't understand that our adult children now don't do that anymore. I mean, I estranged over 30 years ago. However, there wasn't as much of me back then, or at least I didn't know about it the way that we know about it now. I don't think she really recognizes that she's losing that grip on her children and how much she's hurting them. I don't think she really can see them through her own pain. And so to my estranged parents out there, if this in any way sounds like you, that you feel so hurt by your adult child that you need them to take accountability for the way that they hurt you prior to you taking full accountability for the foundation that you laid where you have hurt them, you are going to end up estranged forever. And for what? Because you couldn't recognize that the tail was wagging the dog. Because you couldn't recognize that your children are not emotionally responsible for you. You are emotionally responsible for them. And that's what happens in this two-way street accountability that they're looking for. Do adult children have things that we probably need to be accountable for in terms of maybe moments where we didn't treat our parent well? I think so. I think as human beings, like I can look back at times where I was really shitty to my mother, for sure. And I'm not proud of that. And if she had ever worked to heal the wounds between us, I would have taken accountability for those things. We never got there. My eldest daughter, who I was estranged from, there was a point in time where she came back to me and said, I'm realizing how hard this mother thing is. And I'm like, it's not actually that hard if you're kind. And she's like, no, that's not what I mean. Because at the time she had teenagers and she was calling me for parenting advice. She's like, I just thought it was easier than it was, kind of thing. And she came back to me and it was like this full circle moment of she understood that I was also a human. When we came back together to repair our relationship after being estranged, and this is over 20 years ago, it lasted less than 3 years. It was on and off. It fit the pattern. I never once said to her, I'm sorry, but I did it because of this, or I'm sorry, but I was hurting too, or I'm only human, or I'm not, I didn't do any of those things. I know those things about myself. I know that I'm only human. I know that I'm not perfect. I know that I hurt her. I know that I should have done better. I know that I had information at the time that formed how I showed up. I know all of those things. And I also equally know that none of that was her responsibility because I'm the mom and she's not emotionally responsible for me. And this is where a lot of this goes sideways. These parents want to be seen so badly that they don't see what they're doing to their children right in front of them. They want their turn, stamping their feet. That's the emotional immaturity aspect of this. And so as an estranged parent or one where you see your relationship is dwindling and you're not being curious while your kids are drawing back and sharing less information with you, and you're not asking them, hey, how can I show up for you better? I can see you're distancing. I want to make a change here. I don't want this to fall apart. You have to keep the spotlight on them and you can't bring into the room any of your stuff and lay it at their feet. I know you want them to see you. And it starts with you seeing them and holding space for them and leading by example. And if you do that, there's going to be a point in time where they do see you. Because one, you've modeled it for them. You've modeled this sort of, the unconditional love of, it doesn't matter why I did what I did. I'm sorry I hurt you. What can I do to be better for you? How can I better show up for you? My child that I chose to bring into the world. You didn't choose to be here. If you do that, it will come full circle later on and they will see you and they'll probably ask you questions about your own experience and be curious about you and want to learn about you because you've healed their wounds enough to do that. This parent right here, she's vicious. She really is. She has, as you've seen, going through the things that she puts on her page, and she's very hardcore. She has me blocked, by the way. Somebody screen recorded that and sent it to me, and many other things of her. And I didn't even know she had me blocked. She wasn't on my radar. And I think she might have had me blocked because she was considering doing a feature on me kind of thing. I see her do that with a few people. And it's even the fact that she has me blocked because she can't handle any other narrative other than her own, I think speaks volumes about her. As I watch these estranged parents, I talk about them to validate those of us who are estranged, the adult children. I also talk about it in the hopes that estranged parents out there will see some of this messaging and recognize why it is they're, solidifying their own estrangement and maybe look to creators who are where they want to be instead of those ones who are stuck in that bitterness that they accuse us of, that anger, that they're discarding their adult children and they're cementing everything because they don't understand. Well, start watching your own content. Maybe you'll understand. Oh, and as a final note, I know there's legitimate abuse and whatever. Emotional violence is legitimate abuse and it causes the same brain damage as physical and SA. We know that as a fact. So this whole legitimate abuse, as soon as you say that, who died and made you the qualifier of what abuse actually is, what trauma is? That's where you again start to invalidate your adult child's experience. Just because you didn't mean to hurt them doesn't mean you didn't hurt them. You know, like, and if you don't like the label abuse, too fucking bad. Like, you know, I hate to be so flip about it. I think you're focusing, or these types of estranged parents are so focused on, I didn't do that, I didn't abuse you, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, that they're just hiding behind all these things that make them feel bad about themselves instead of feeling bad about what they're continuing to do to the adult child that's right in front of them who actually wants them to be their parent. What do you think? Drop a comment. And yeah, she does something to me. I'm not sure what it is. Frustrates me, I guess. And it just makes me really sad. It makes me really, really sad because she just can't get out of her own way. And I see it over and over and over again. And it doesn't have to be this way. You know, as they say, we're trending up in the direction of estrangement. Well, you know, if you take the time to watch and listen to estranged adult children's stories and learn something from that, maybe we can trend it down. Stop talking about how it's on the rise and start doing something to reverse that. And as we talk about that, you know, it is going to reach a level of estrangement like we've never seen before. And it will be because of social media, but not the way that people like this paint it. It'll be those parents, those family vloggers, those parents who are exposing and exploiting their children on the internet for their own gain and not connecting to their children. There's going to be a huge backlash with that. And that is because of the internet in part. At the bottom of that, it's because of the choices that parents are making. So, okay. I feel like I rambled. I'll see you soon. Thank you for being here with me.